If you're buying knives today, should you buy a bunch of cool, inexpensive stuff or save up for that one lifetime purchase? I think the answer depends. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the KnifeCenter. Welcome to KniFAQ, episode 262, I hope, of the series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. What we do is we take your questions from the comment section below these videos. I attempt to answer them the best I can, and Thomas behind the camera says random words and makes snarky comments.
Carbonation.
I'm a little thirsty. If you got a question, drop it down below, and it'll be considered for a future episode. First question today comes from Mayad Zaim. Hi, Mr. David. I am starting my knife collection. I've got $250 to spend on my first purchase. From your point of view, should I get one knife or divide the budget to buy 3 knives? What do you suggest in both cases? Well, the $250 price range is really interesting because you can get some like highly effective, high quality knives, even some really fancy ones like this CRKT limited edition Ciro right now with a Damasteel blade. I think it's Damasteel, it's Damascus in any case. Matching inlays, titanium handles, a frame lock, a flipper, fancy stuff. Utilitarian stuff, like one of my favorite Benchmates, the Presidio 2. Both of these sit around $250 these days. But for someone getting started, I don't know if it makes sense to buy just one high-end knife, unless you're like really sure, because the odds of kind of getting it wrong are really high. Like so many things we can't even get a chance to hold before we buy them, you know. We're an internet company. You buy it based on pictures on a website and hopefully these videos a little bit.
Or you go to Blade Show.
Blade Show's a lot of fun. Check out our playlist from the show last weekend. So the odds of being disappointed by buying that one high-end thing, like diving full into the deep end, are pretty high. There's good reasons to do it, and if you're the right kind of person, it can be certainly worthwhile. But I would say for most people who are just starting their collection journey, I wouldn't do that. I would divide your cash, and in fact, on the table here in front of me, I have some examples for you since you asked for it. And it's going to be way more than just 3 items. In fact, I got 8 things here for you to consider under a $250 budget, because what you kind of want to do when you're getting started is experience as many different types of everything as you can. Lock types, handle shapes, blade profiles. And then you can decide, learn what it is you actually like. And then you can kind of focus in on, higher end pieces once once you know that's what you want. At this point, I wouldn't even necessarily be too concerned about steel, honestly. It doesn't matter as much as long as it's, quality enough to begin with, the whole package. Experiencing the broadest variety of experiences is more important. And steels in, less expensive knives, they don't tend to vary too much anyway. So yeah, forget 3 items. I've got 8 things here. Let's get right into it. We start with a big knife. Gotta have a big knife. And this is the Cold Steel Large Voyager Tanto. There are other blade shapes available. This is about $72 right now. The clip point is actually on sale for $50. So you could save even more, come in even further under budget here. But I wanted to get a good Tanto into the mix here, because everything I'm going to show you is offering something different. You've got the triad lock here, which is technically not a back lock, but is basically a back lock. It works the same way, or you operate it the same way as a classic back lock. So definitely heritage in the lock lineage right there. Big knife capability. AUS 10 steel, which is pretty darn good steel. 4-inch blade, good ergos, very tactical in nature. Big beater energy on it as well. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. Next up, I'm going to go way smaller. And actually, the next 3 knives are thanks to one company. SRM and its parent company, actually, which we'll get to in a second. This is the Swift. And this is an astonishingly good knife for $18. Really, it is got a 3.15-inch 12C27 blade, good Swedish stainless there. A G10 handle scales on top of a folded steel frame. So it's, despite the small size, it's actually very robust, and you get a cool different type of construction with this knife right here as well. You got a very deep carry pocket clip, and you've got something that's falling into that executive knife category a little bit. Super slim, almost pencil-like in the pocket. Tiny flipper tab right there that works really, really nicely. And something a little more gentlemanly. Maybe not quite a gentleman's knife, but gentlemanly. And this lets you try out a liner lock as well, which lets you put a full scale on the back side, unlike the frame lock, which we're going to look at now. This is the Rake, spelled Ruike, P801 flipper. It's been a long time budget king. It remains so today. $35, 3.5-inch drop point blade of 14C28N, a slightly different steel, not as tough as the 12C, but more edge retention, which is pretty cool. Frame lock here on the back, stainless steel construction, and another flipper here as well. So these two kind of tread a little bit of the same ground, but I think they're very different, different lock types, very different beasts in terms of their size, of course, as well. Rake is actually the parent company of SRM. So this is an SRM as well, basically. These things work really well. And, different handle construction with the stainless steel here, different lock type, different steel in this case as well. Actually, like coincidentally, I'm not duplicating any steels throughout this whole matchup right here.
There's a lot of steels to choose from.
There are a lot of steels to choose from. I didn't even intend to do that, but hey, that's nice. Get to experience some different steels as well. Next up, got to get yourself a crossbar locking knife. This is the SRM 9201. It's $20. Crazy small amount of money for this as well, but the crossbar lock works great. You get a clip point blade coming into the equation right here, 8CR series stainless, injection molded handles as well. There are higher end versions of this available for another, I think it's another $10. You can get G10 and D2 steel. Actually, there's no D2 steel here, which is a great steel in the budget category, but there could be good reasons not to buy it as a true beginner, a true newbie. Get to that in a minute. Astonishingly good knife for $18 or $20 right here. This knife was $18, and that's astonishingly even better than this $20 knife in some ways, but it is a bit smaller. So yeah, more new blade shapes. Got to get yourself a button lock. Button locks have been all the rage for a few years right now. The Pyrite Light from CJRB. This is a translucent FRN in amber for the handles. You get a modified Warncliffe blade is what I'm going to go with. So I don't have a sheep's foot. I don't have a true reverse Tonto here for Thomas, but this is kind of getting...
It's okay, there's time.
This kind of scratches the itch on that side of the blade shape equation. $30 for these, which is insanely good value for what you get here as well. You get a spray form steel here, which is more exotic than the traditional ingot steels on any of these other knives. It's based on 9CR series stainless, but the grain structure is smaller, which makes it tougher than your standard 9CR, which has decent edge retention, but with the extra toughness on a thin blade like that, it's going to help the edge hold up from abuse a little bit nicer too. And of course, you got the button lock. Finger safe closing action. This and the crossbar lock give you that. And just, another different flavor. Find out what you like. You got to have a slip joint in the equation, and you might as well make it a Swiss Army knife. And I'd say, keeping it in budget, this is not my favorite Swiss Army knife to recommend full stop for the average person, but it is a very good one. And it's one of the more affordable options. The kind of my go-tos are a little more expensive. This is at $45. This is actually the Climber, but the Super Tinker is the one I would recommend. That only differs from the Climber here. The Climber has a corkscrew. The Super Tinker has a Phillips head screwdriver. I would prefer that, but I didn't have one on the shelf today to show you. What do you get for $45? Well, you get two blades in a basic stainless steel. It's X50 CR blah blah blah, alphabet soup. Doesn't really matter too much. It's a basic stainless. You'll have to sharpen it as it gets dull. Scissors. Victorinox scissors are like as good as a mini scissor gets. Like they are phenomenally good. You've also got the cap lifter and the can opener. You've got a big flathead here, a smaller flathead on this one here that also doubles as a number 2 Phillips in a pinch. Wire stripper on there, and then toothpick and tweezers on the in the scales. You got an awl, you got the parcel hook, all of that for $45. So you get a multi-tool, you get a Swiss Army knife, and you get a slip joint in the equation. We've still got budget left though, unbelievably. And you got to have a fixed blade, of course. This is the Mora Basic 511. We've got this one particular on sale right now for $10. And it's C100 steel, technically, which is $10.95 carbon steel. So it's not a stainless, but you can get stainless versions of this for about $4 more. And actually, we would still fit under budget, even if we went with that one. But this gives you a fixed blade, good for hiking because it's very lightweight, good all-around outdoor use, good beater, good wood carving. This has a Scandi grind on it, which is a double-planed chisel, essentially. And it's kept nice and thin so it can still slice, but this works great on wood and gives you another flavor we haven't yet seen in this $250 budget. Comes with a capable sheath as well. Nothing fancy, but it's basic. It's right in the name. And it gets the job done really, really well. That's 7 knives, sharpening. Invest in a sharpener. And here's one where I'm of two minds. There's nothing worse than, especially early on, like really struggling with sharpening and getting discouraged and putting it aside and, just not even bothering. I kind of fell into that trap myself when I was like real young, first getting into it. So I would love to recommend something like the Spyderco Sharp Maker because it is insanely easy to use, even if you're not like attuned to knives at all. I know people, I've given them as wedding presents to people who aren't knife people, and they can get razor sharp hair shaving edges on their kitchen knives, which is what they're primarily using them for, super easily. But that's like a $100 unit. So that's not going to work in the budget. The Worksharp Pocket Knife Sharpener, not bad. Actually, more than not bad. It's pretty good, but it is definitely a more precise or a freehand method that takes a little more control, like self-control, and then being able to hold it straight up and down, like with the Sharp Maker. But it's $15, and you get a diamond plate on one side, a ceramic hone on the other, and these are angle guides to help guide you along the way. These work very, very well. They're lightweight, and they don't cost too much. What's the grand total for all of this right here? It is, I have it here, where it is, $244.65. Before tax, of course, depending on where you live. And at that price, free shipping will have kicked in at KnifeCenter.com, so you don't have to factor that into things. I would go like this. If you're truly just getting started, this is a great way to do it. In fact, we did a video on this a few years ago. I think we had like a $500 budget. And I kind of did a similar thought exercise to this. You might want to check that video out too. We'll leave a link to it. I think it was 500.
Just as soon as I remember what it was called.
Maybe it was 300. It's like how to start knife collecting or something like that. It was a fun video. It was a slightly different budget, and it's a few years old, so prices have, of course, changed. So I switched things up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, if you wanted to go with the clip point on the Voyager, you could save like $24 or so right there, and you might be able to buy yourself another knife. Get 8 knives and a sharpener instead of 7 and a sharpener in that $250 budget. There truly never has been a better time to buy truly inexpensive knives, I don't think. At least I don't know. Define inexpensive. $18. Like I can get like one meal out at Chipotle at this for the same price as this knife, and this is going to last a lot longer than that meal, although the beans can have sort of a half-life sometimes,
They'll come back to you.
They will. They'll come back around.
A secondary bevel.
There you go. Well, I hope that helps. What would you folks do? If you're just getting started, quantity versus quality, I may say go for quantity. Don't buy junk, but buy good quantity early on. And then what you'll better be able to focus your dollars on the higher end stuff later. What would you all buy for $250? If it was a single high end piece, what would be the knife you would choose? Or if you want to do the same game I did and add your tally a bunch of stuff up to $250, drop them in the comments. I think it could be helpful to our friend here. Hope that helps. All right, let's get into the lightning round, shall we? Richard Nutting asks, "Hey Dave, I think I'm going to start EDCing an Italian stiletto. However, I've read that the knife itself and the use of it isn't common nowadays. So my question: do you have any recommendations for a modern version of that classic knife that can stand up just everyday type tasks, cutting packages, cutting steak if needed? LOL. Thanks, and can't wait to see what y'all come up with." Sure. The reason the use of Italian stilettos is not so common nowadays, at least in the United States, is we can't import them. It's technically illegal. So that'll certainly have an effect on the supply of those things. For a modernized version, Kershaw is where you want to be. This is the Launch 8. Get their number right? Yes, the Launch 8. Definitely inspired by that classic stiletto, but modern aluminum handle scales. The quillions here are integrated into that the handle. I shouldn't say scales, it's like the handle. You've got carbon fiber scale on the front. CPM 154 blade steel, which is a powder metal, crucible powder metal in this case, version of 154 cm. Similar to the spray form we talked about earlier, this is even more of a step up in terms of finally controlling the grain structure of the steel. Like spray form's kind of in between CPM or particle metallurgy and anyway, 3.5 inch blade works great. The launch action is very, very good, and the price on these is about $147, which is not bad at all. There's a smaller version of this, the Launch like 15. It's like a 2-inch blade if you want. You could also go with ProTech. Their Godfather and Godson models are much more angular. Actually, I have a Godfather right here. Might as well show it. Kind of a minimized take on the classic right there. If you don't necessarily want the quillions on it, you can check out a lot of those models as well. Hope that helps. Bill Bush says, "What are some good low to $100 knives with washers?" So the reason you might want a washer in the blade as opposed to ball bearings, I didn't even talk about that in the budget things here. There's a mix of both. The Voyager is a great series with washers. There's a chance with ball bearings that can be a little more susceptible to like grit and sand and grime getting stuck in there. They are a little easier to clean out without taking apart the knife, however, so there is a trade-off. But a lot of modern knives have moved on to washers or to ball bearings. So the best knives with washers nowadays are kind of the holdovers from kind of like previous eras that have continued to soldier on because they're just that good, like the Voyager series, like the Ontario Rat series, both inexpensive versions, and these two here, which sit right under $100. You've got the full-size and S35 VN steel, and the mid-size, the new, actually 1.5, with MagnaCut steel. These are probably like, the best value for dollar, best performance per dollar if you're looking for a knife with washers specifically under $100. Just classic knives for a reason. The Tenacious, the Zancudo, awesome. Been around a while, so they're not like the latest hotness, but the designs on them are super, super solid. The KJ Malice asks, "Is there a powder metallurgy steel equivalent to 14C 28N or Nitro V?" Which is very similar to 14C. I know 14C has become the popular stainless steel for survival and bushcraft fixed blades. I was curious if anything had the qualities of it in powder metallurgy form. Well, I think the reason we don't see a powder metal version of a steel like 14C 28N is it already naturally has an extremely fine grain structure. It's one of the few ingot based steels that we use nowadays in knives that has that in the same kind of way. It actually already has a finer grain structure than something like CPM 154, which we already talked about, without having to resort to powder metallurgy process. The cool thing by that tighter, finer grain structure that the powder metal treatment allows is more toughness, because you have it's more homogeneous, fewer big elements here that can create stress points because it's all much more even. That already does it. So making 14C a powder metal might make it worse. I don't know. It would certainly be diminishing returns if it did improve it. And at that point, you're probably better off buying like a CPM 154 or a MagnaCut or an S35 or something like that. Just my opinion. I have no science to back that assertion up. But I do know that, if you look at Laren Thomas's website, he shows, microscope pictures in 14C, or maybe it was 12C27, very closely related. Crazy. No, it was AEBL, which 14C is very similar to. Sorry. AEBL has a very tight, very fine grain structure, finer than many powder seals. Anyway, all right, fine. Moving on. Now we arrive to our most seriousest question of the day, which, sorry, I did that wrong. Take two.
No, that's staying in.
Well, now we arrive to our finalist question, which is, of course, our most seriousest question of the day.
First try.
Alex Pervanoglu. Sorry. Alex Pervanoglu. There we go. Well, not knife related, but maybe one for a KniFAQ. Why is it that 10 millimeter spanners / sockets, sorry. You're leaving all this in, aren't you?
Absolutely.
Why is it that 10 millimeter spanners / sockets go walkabout? It's a mystery, and an international one at that. All the best from Spain. I have a theory on that. In order to kind of demonstrate it, we need to grab this item right here. It was right there a second ago. You saw that, right?
Maybe.
I had a Sierra KT twist and fix right here, which includes a 10 millimeter socket. And now it's gone. Maybe it's because we have them on sale right now for $10 for the whole set, which is like kind of crazy good. Well,
I actually haven't lost any 10 millimeters yet.
Oh, when it happens, it's coming for you, my friend.
The 7mm long gone.
Well, that's all the time we've got. Sorry I couldn't answer that question in a more seriousist manner. But if you have some questions of your own, drop them down below. If you got your most serious questions, make sure to drop those as well. And yeah, what's your $250 knife budget going towards? Bunch of cool little, less expensive stuff, or one cool high-end piece? Drop it down in the comments, as well as your questions, if I didn't already say that. I probably did. If you want to get your hands on any of these items right here, including those 10 millimeters before they all go walkabout, check out the links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And while you're there, don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program for some free money on future purchases, as well as Sezzle options at checkout if you want to break things into smaller payments. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. We're signing off. See you next time.